You had an 8-year affair with this man's wife.
I did.
How often were you seeing her?
As often as I could. 3, maybe as often.
2 or 3 times a week?
Yes.
Knocked on all the neighbors' doors. Everyone says, we don't know. They move. We don't know where they're at.
I'm telling you, if you wanted to find me, you could have found me.
Well, I tried and I couldn't find you.
When you say you tried, how did you look for her? Well, you're saying when that happened, you thought to yourself, oh, maybe she's with the other guy too.
That's a possibility. I mean, she called his name.
All right, do you let Mr. Figures know?
The sudden baby's arrival left Mr. Lamb in utter disbelief. Why? Because his wife's sexual desires were on leash, which led her to step out of the marriage. And we all know when such actions hit. There is no solution but a DNA test.
Ms. Mullins, you say your ex-husband, Mr. Lamb, is an oversexed man-child whose debauched sexual fantasies have landed you in paternity conundrum. You say that after doing everything you could to save your marriage, turned that dedication against you by denying your 3-year-old son, Preston, to prove paternity today.
While the mystery was lurking on, the plaintiff came forward and said that despite her bad marriage life, she was faithful to her better half. And the sexual encounter the hubby was hung on was proposed by him. Then why so fuss?
She's told me out of her own mouth that I'm not the father. And
Really?
I've heard from other people that they say that he don't look like
That is a lie.
But how did she tell you that you're not the father? She's testifying today that you are the father.
Roger,
When did
I
she
don't
tell you
understand.
you weren't?
Right after he was born, Your Honor, she told me.
Take me to that day. What happened?
Keep on lying.
What's the point of creating doubt in your husband's mind right after the baby's birth? And he mentioned Jonathan's name. So what's the story behind that man in their marriage? Next, the judge asked them about the haunting incident, and the plaintiff explained Mr. Lamb's weird fantasies with Dear Jonathan.
So he took my phone after he had told me about, the fantasy he had, and I didn't feel comfortable with it, but I finally agreed, and he took my phone and texted Jonathan and was acting like me and said something about us having a threesome. And Jonathan was like, I'm down. So,
I'm down.
yeah.
You down, Jerome?
No.
And we went in the bedroom, and it all started from there.
So this was a good lesson of fantasy and turned it into a nightmare. I mean, who would be messed up enough to even think of such things? And now, instead of admitting his mistake, the defendant denied it and put all the blame on her.
When the door came in on us.
Wrong.
And he asked us if we wanted to have a threesome, and she agreed to it.
Wrong. Living with us, his mattress was in our bedroom floor. Me and him were actually having
Why
sex
did his
one time.
mattress have to be in your bedroom floor?
We had a 2-bedroom apartment. The kids was in a room, and then we put his mattress in our floor.
What about the living room?
What kind of circus they had going in their house? Who in their right state of mind entertains guests like that? So the judge asked him more about her flirtatious relationship with Jonathan, and he shared their sweet moment on his bed.
The night I came home, they were sitting on my bed. They was like, she was leaned up on him. They was real close, and that's when I started started figuring stuff out. And that wasn't the first time.
Did you say something?
I did. I asked her what was going on. She said they was just friends. It ain't like that. And I grew up with him, so I've been close to him like family also. But that was not the only time she did it, Your Honor. She agreed after she couldn't finish.
I believe he is lying at this point. His friend and wife were never comfortable. Then how can she say this? Their accusations are swinging freely in the middle with no hook to rely on. Next, plaintiff said that all 3 of them were confused about pregnancy. Then, Mr. Lamb shared the reason for his denial.
Not off the top, but I do know she has over and over told me that that he is the father and that he looks like him.
That he looks like the other guy?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
She's told you this?
Yes, countless times.
I mean, I told him there were similarities. If we get to thinking about it, yes, but there's a lot of similarities between him and Jonathan as well.
Not all desires have to be taken seriously, and look how it made you fall into trouble that now you are standing in the court to figure out the real daddy of the baby. But regardless of their mistakes, the results were read to end this confusion.
Mr. Lamb,
Your Honor.
you are the father. You are the father. That's your beautiful little boy.
Living her own life without parents was hard enough for this 35-year-old Mount Olive woman. However, the sudden appearance of some random guy claiming to be her father has turned her life upside down. Done with all the false claims, Ms. Agee, AY plus G, was ready to prove him wrong today.
Mr. Fritz, you state that over the last 30 years, you have searched to find your biological daughter, who you claim was taken from you as a child. However, just 4 months ago, this 3-decade search came to an end when you found Ms. Agee, whom you believe to be your daughter, on Facebook. You're now petitioning the court to prove that you are indeed her biological father. Is
Yes,
that
Your
correct?
Honor, that is correct.
Defendant already had a biological father, a man named Mr. Buster, who had abandoned her while she was just a child and never looked back. Though she kept contacting him, he remained cold toward Ms. Agee. That's why the woman was not ready to ride the same roller coaster again.
You say you're my dad, but if you're my dad, then you would have come looking for me. You say you come looking for me, but obviously you didn't come looking for me because I live in Thomasville, a little town that you can find me. You found me when I was already married under my married name. You didn't find me under my maiden name. My maiden name, you couldn't find me. I live in a small town. I can go in the middle of the town and scream out Danny Fritz, and they're gonna hear me.
And if you're wondering why the plaintiff never reached out to his long-lost daughter, it was revealed that he was incarcerated for a long time and was away from his town, but still visited Ms. Agee when she was 2 years old one day. Her family ghosted him without a reason, and he began his desperate search for his daughter.
I went down there to find her. When I got there, the trailer was empty where she lived at, okay? So I went to the neighbor's house. They said, yeah, they moved, but they didn't know where. I went to all the neighbors' houses. No one knew where they had moved to.
If you want to find your daughter, you will not stop. I don't care what anybody says. If my kids are out there and I want to find my kids, I'm gonna find them, regardless.
I didn't stop.
Regardless.
Ooh, why would you do that to him? Shutting him off her life was wrong. Then Mr. Fritz said that he found Ms. Agee through Facebook and texted her to build their bond again. But to the defendant's response, it was a complete shock, and she didn't like it at all.
You contacted me on Facebook. We were talking.
Right.
I thought you was an old school friend because I didn't even know you were my dad.
Right.
I didn't recognize the name. And then I was shocked. I didn't know what to think because
were both
here you
shocked.
are. I'm 35 years old and you're telling me you're my dad. I'm not. What am I supposed to think?
Well, I'm here today to show you that I am your dad.
And I don't know how you got
and
my
from this
phone
point
number,
on,
but
I'm
you
going to do
called me.
anything at all that
And
you
I
want me to do to help you in your life.
She doesn't count his efforts as worthy. I know it must be hard to bond with this man, but still, she is numb to all his excuses. Regarding the daddy-daughter relationship, Mr. Fritz said that it started pretty well, but the defendant still had coldness towards him, which let him down. Upon this, the defendant attacked him again.
You do not believe he's your biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why are you so angry at him?
I'm angry because he says he is my dad. If he is my dad, why wasn't you there? I needed a dad when I was younger. I'm 35 years old now. I've lived my life. I'm living my kid. I'm with my kids now. I'm living my life for my kids. And then he wants to pop up 35. Then I have a gentleman telling me that he is my father. If he's my dad, why wasn't he there?
We know that she's hurt, and why not? For years, you are missing from her life, and now want to be a good father? It's not easy, man. Next, after seeing her constant denial, the judge finally gave her a moment to express her real emotions behind the anger, and she revealed her fears.
That ain't
Hurt
gonna
enough
happen,
in my
man.
life, and I don't want to be
You
hurt
ain't gonna
anymore.
be by yourself no more. I'm gonna tell you that. And I love you, and you know that, Angel. Since the first day I got back with you and found you, I told you I would never hurt you, and I love you. And I'll tell you what, the love I got in my heart never gonna go away, and you're never gonna be alone. I'm here to help you. I'm here to be your daddy.
But you're putting out there that I asked you for money. I didn't ask you for no money. I told you what was going on.
The hurt and resentment in the plaintiff's eyes were so much that she kept repeating denial and anger towards him. But now, with this situation in the court, it was clear that they wanted the results so badly to end the confusion and have peace with their lives.
I am her
Mr.
daddy.
Fritz, you are her father.
Yes! That's what I'm talking about.
This is just so beautiful.
Mr. Figures played his A game with Ms. Jackson's heart, and now it's payback time. Ghosted her with a baby, and now the plaintiff hit him back in his face to prove to him that he fathered her son. The terms of the past have to get resolved today, and to win this game against him, she demanded a DNA test.
Ms. Jackson, you say Mr. Figures was a smooth-talking Casanova who swept you off your feet and out of your clothes and then left you with a baby.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim Mr. Figures disappeared 20 years ago, and now you want to prove that he is definitely your son, Daniil's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Job Corps was an adventure ride for them, and Ms. Jackson recalled the innocent attraction she had for Mr. Figures and their cheesy relationship in their youth. Wild thoughts of love and a hook of intimacy were an overwhelming desire that took them to the peak of madness.
Things that was called a green grass, right? We could go out and pick a spot and get to know each other, per se. So that's what we did one night. And at that time, when you're younger, sometimes people change their names and have these, call yourself little nicknames or whatever, right? So at that time,
Majestic.
that was me. You see, she remembers. So I had another friend also. His name was
Mustafa.
She got a good memory.
A very amusing story. It must have been a lot of fun to do this back then. and I'm glad he knew about the other possibility right from the start. Next plaintiff said that pregnancy was a complete shock for her, and Mr. Figures taunted that it was the Mufasa guy, but she explained herself on this matter.
Someone, meaning he had my back. Don't meaning we having sex.
Come on, man.
It didn't come to, but the person that he's talking about, he even went to him and told him, you know she's carrying my baby.
See what I'm saying?
Mr. Figures,
So-
so you admitted that
Who? Say, I went to the guy and told him that?
that's what she
No.
testified.
No.
There was doubt all along, but he never addressed it. And now he says he is not a runner? It doesn't add up. Mr. Majestic, that's cowardly. The next judge asked Mr. Jackson about his fatherless life experience, and the poor boy showed great courage in answering her.
Your Honor, it's totally
More-
different from sexing this man.
Come on, you was
When I
having
was
sex
going
with
through-
him and having
Honor,
sex with me.
Your Honor.
Right or wrong?
Wrong. Put it like this. If this man, because I can get in contact with him at any time, if he knew that this
But no
was his
sex,
child, why would I be doing this after 20 years? You know what I'm saying?
'Cause maybe
if
you
you
don't
look
know.
at my son and look at this man, it's no way.
He is crushed with pain, and yes, he needs to have a father in his life, even if it's too late. The young man's tears and pain still did not affect Mr. Figures, and Mr. Jackson further shared that a father is meaningless to him now.
My closest friend, his dad died, but he seen his dad. My other friends, they all know their daddy. They all having these things with their father.
But to be
I just
honest
go
with
home. Like, I ain't got time to deal with this. I'll find.
Even if it,
Stop talking. You have a right to have that relationship.
I don't want that right.
In due time.
I know.
In due time.
It's-
My mind's already set. I'm done.
I know.
Your Honor, can I give you this?
This moment must have been hard for the poor boy, and his hate is valid for him. Everyone would have the same feeling about a ghosted father. But listening to this, his mother broke down and expressed her frustration over Mr. Figures and wanted things to improve for their son's future.
Got her. I'm straight.
But I want him to know his father. This hurts where it's always for 20 years been us. Like, I have dreams of him coming to my house or we, you know what I'm saying? Like we meeting up or them having a connection the way I never had my father. I never had my father. This hurt.
The mother-son had led a hard life, but today's paternity question was very important for Mr. Jackson and his future, so he could have a full family by his side. And the only way to find Mr. Figures' paternity is by reading the DNA results.
Mr. Figures, you are not the father.
Oh my God.
20 years, huh? For this. I hope you find that,
Yeah.
because everybody should know who their people are. My dad wasn't there for me either.
It's fine.
I have to ask you, respectfully, do you know?
The hunt for the real father is still on, as Ms. Lons returned to court to find her daughter's biological father. Previously failed and devastated in their last attempt now, with a new hope they have come back to get their answer, whether Mr. Randolph was the real blood of Ms. Knoll or not. Let's see what the case brings this time.
Ms. Lons, you claim that while filming your popular reality TV show, Was Your Daughter Elite's father was not. After the results came in, you revealed to Elite that her uncle, the defendant, Mr. Randolph, may be her biological father, that it was devastating to find out that the man you believed was your dad was not, and you now believe that his brother is your father.
Yes, Your Honor.
In her own words, Ms. Lone stated that her past reality TV life has damaged her a lot, and now she was clean and sober from all the mistakes of her youth and was desperate to find the truth today for her daughter. Then Ms. Knoll spoke about her experience as a fatherless child.
I mean, I felt as if I should have never had to even take that step. And I had closed up. I closed up with my mom. I also closed up with Vic, which is the guy that originally we, tested. And I'm not gonna lie, it's a bitter thing for me. I used to hide the story, you know what I mean? I didn't want anybody to, like I said, I didn't want to judge my mom, but I didn't want to be judged for it neither.
Mr. Randolph shared that a confession of paternity by Ms. Lons on the reality show brought trouble him when multiple people told him that he was the father of Ms. Knoll. The suspicion was unsettling, and he only faced court to find answers. Then, Ms. Knoll shared a little about her childhood life.
I actually was raised by an amazing family. I was adopted at 3 months, but there's still a part of me that, wanted to know. I didn't find out that I was adopted until I was 11 years old. From the time I was adopted up until 11, you couldn't tell me that this wasn't my family. So I was extremely embarrassed, and after that I lashed out.
A lot is going going on in this case. Two different fathers who are brothers. It's very complicated. Then Ms. Knoll shared that her adopted mother took her to the man David Knoll who was on her birth certificate, and he coldly pushed her away. Then the judge asked the defendant about his relationship with Ms. Lons.
But the relationship is like this. I'm part of a dance group called the Black Resurgence, who are internationally known for boogaloo and robot and strutting. Her sister and one of the members of our group, her other sister, another member of the group, her and my brother and their friend and I were involved in a relationship. But we had that situation, the group of us, had that situation going on with various sets of girls around the neighborhood.
So the groupies were involved with each other so badly, then sure babies would pop out and sadly no one would own them in the end. Crazy how people make mistakes and never think of the consequences. And look now how they are standing here doubting paternity. Then the judge brought one member of their band, Mr. Robertson, to testify in the case.
Guys that
all the girls wanted.
They called me Don Juan, so it was just a group thing, you know. I never fell in love with none of them. It's just.
So you're basically saying you were having many sexual relationships. You never were in a girlfriend-boyfriend committed relationship. It wasn't a relationship. You can't say for certain you did not sleep with Ms. Lons during the window of conception.
No,
you don't know.
I can't say that. I really can't say that.
His testimony has added more puzzles now. So everyone is freely sleeping around in the band, but none came up with responsibility, and now stood here confused about paternity. Next, Ms. Knoll said she never heard of Mr. Robertson before, then Mr. Randolph further explained his uncertainty.
If Elite was my child, why didn't somebody say something to me 30 years ago?
Well, how could I? Years ago, I didn't know.
Elite, God bless your heart, darling. I wish nothing but the best for you. You look so much like Nefertiti and my children till, yes, we really did think Vic was your father, especially because of Frankie and his relationship. But no way under God's green earth that I ever think that she was my child.
The actions of these groupie people might have brought them a lot of fame and satisfaction, but they surely damaged Ms. Knoll's life completely. Now, after all the testimonies, there was only one way to end this unanswered question of paternity, and only DNA could tell the truth.
Mr. Robertson, you are not her father. Mr. Randolph, you are not her father. I'm very sorry, Miss Noel.
Well, as long as you want to keep looking, we gonna look.
Thank you.
That, I'm happy for that. I'm happy for.
Ms. Scott is facing the worst nightmare of her life. How could she get more hurt to find that Mr. Lewis claimed his paternity on her, while she had already been nurtured by her dad, Mr. Scott, whose name she proudly carried all along? 35 years later, this revelation struck her hard, and now she just wanted truth and nothing else.
Mr. Lewis, you say for 35 years you've always known you were Miss Scott's biological father, but circumstances kept you away. You claim the DNA results will prove you are Crystal Scott's dad. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Plaintiff claimed that her mother had told him that Ms. Scott was his daughter, and also her resemblance with his other kids was clear, which made his belief more strong about paternity. But Ms. Scott had some different views on who her real father was.
Father? Your Honor, my mom never told me that Mr. Lewis was my biological father. My dad here, he raised me. He taught me how to fish. We went on family vacations. That's one we were in Florida. Just last year we were there for a family reunion, well, class reunion. He taught me what to expect from a man.
So Mr. Lewis revealed that he had a secret affair with her mother for 8 years. And surprisingly, Mr. Scott was also unaware of this fact. Really? And nobody had any idea about it? The truth bomb hit hard on everyone. Then Mrs. Scott shared her little memories of the plaintiff in her life.
When I was a kid, 5 years old, 6 years old, when she would say, let's go to the store, that's when we would go and meet Mr. Lewis in the store. When we would meet him, of course it would just be me, her and I, and we would meet him. He would give me $5, $10, and they would walk a little bit down the aisle, you know, and hug, kiss. And
you saw your mother hug and kiss
and I would
Mr.
just
Lewis.
be.
And so who did your mother tell you this man was?
She just told me he was a friend.
Why did mommy keep the truth from her? And now she was confused and broken over her real identity. Also, the love she had for her dad now felt like a beautiful dream which was going to be over soon. And she was devastated by this situation.
And it hurts to think that he could not be my father.
Because you say he's your hero.
He is.
And that's been something you could rely on your whole life.
I can honestly say that he has shown me true love.
Unconditional.
Unconditional. I am torn. I'm torn between feeling that, you know, he's my dad because he's been there, and then I'm torn between all my questions as to why?
So why did he never try to resolve this mystery? Plaintiff revealed that after their breakup, he let things run the same way because he feared any harmful consequences of questioning paternity. But Ms. Scott expressed her resentment toward everyone for being selfish toward her.
No one chose me.
And that's what I know you feel when I look in your eyes.
And my mom didn't even choose me because she chose to not even come to support me. Everyone is thinking about themselves. From when they were young, they were thinking about themselves. I don't want to get in a confrontation. If he had came in my path, I would have did this. Everything is I.
Her frustrations are very valid. No one thought of her in this paternity fight, and now all of a sudden Mr. Lewis was expressing his love and right on her. She was wrecked by this situation and was done with words, but still shared some hopes for the future.
I mean, I hope my dad is my dad, but if not, we have to proceed and take it from there, and it's hard. I feel like I've been placed in a hard spot. I've been placed in a position that I didn't even ask to be in. And I feel like everything that they've done, three of them collectively, my dad, Mr. Lewis, and my mom, it's been pushed up under the rug all these years.
Years spent with one man as her dad was a beautiful life for Mrs. Scott, but now she was on the brink of destruction, and she couldn't do anything to save it. With pain in her heart, she only had to face the truth, and the judge called for the results.
Pertaining to whether Mr. Lewis or Mr. Scott is the father of Ms. Crystal Scott, the biological father is Mr. Lewis.
Okay. Bro Lewis, I don't hate you.